chandeliers throwing diamonds across the Cade Museum crystal, and money and quiet judgment everywhere, and me on my knees with a silver tray spinning away like a coin, about to choose heads or tails. Then Donovan Cade, the man whose name sits on half the skyline, grabs a fistful of my hair and hisses, "People like you always end up on the floor," and all those phones rise in the air, like a forest of tiny mirrors, catching me at my worst, while his tux drips champagne so I do the only thing my body lets me do. I stand up inside my fear and say one word loud and clean enough to rattle the strings on the quartet's violins. Murder. He freezes, his wife Celeste's smile cracks. The senator's wife clutches pearls like seatbelts, and I say it again for him, not for them. "You killed my father." I didn't come up with that word in the moment. Like some TV hero, I'd been carrying it like a hot coal for 2 weeks, ever since I found a manila folder tucked behind a loose piano panel in the music room. Cade Urban Works letterhead on top. A grainy traffic photo, my father's name, Jacob Carter, and a typed note in careful little letters that read, "Handled paid, dated the night after he died on one of Donovan's sites," and I didn't cry. I just made copies, slid them onto a flash drive, and waited for the part of me that's always polite to get out of the way. When I limped into the service corridor that night, the lemon cleaner in the air felt safer than the chandelier light, and Ruth, the oldest on staff, soft hands, iron eyes, pressed a towel to my scalp and said, "Child, you just lit a match in a room full of drapes," and I said, "He grabbed me like I was disposable," and she nodded like a church elder. He did. But he ain't fireproof. She didn't flinch when I told her about the folder about my dad, about the note that stole the sleep out of my nights. She just said, "Don't go alone." I didn't, because a woman like me stepping forward without a witness is how stories get turned inside out. So I called a reporter I'd been following quietly for months, Nora Vega. And the first thing she said to me wasn't hello, it was loading dock, not the front door, trench coat, ball cap, eyes that believed facts more than tears, but respected both. And of course, Celeste met her at the threshold. With that museum smile, "Journalists don't schedule appointments here." And Nora just said, "Truth doesn't keep appointments either," which bought us 10 minutes and a glass-walled room, where Donovan tried to buy me like he buys anything that throws a shadow. Palms on the table, voice smooth as an elevator, "Name your number," and I heard what he meant under the words. Safety, silence, a little mercy if I behaved. And I said steady as I've ever said anything, "I don't want your money, I want my father's name back." And Nora slid an envelope across the glass. "The way you move a queen when you know the game's already changed, filed this morning with the state. You can talk now or talk later under lights." And the vein in his jaw did a small angry dance, and I asked him the question that finally landed. "If so many people owe you favors, why haven't you called them yet?" Nora's first article went up that night. Timelines, redacted memos, the kind of breadcrumb trail a city can digest while it argues. And the reaction hit like summer thunder. Hashtags, ethics committees clearing their throats, board members peeking out of their courage for the first time, and my phone lit up with unknown numbers and old friends. But the thing about speaking the truth is it makes you want to finish the sentence. And when the threats started in those calm voices that sound like insurance agents, "Last chance to walk away, you don't know who you're stirring up." Nora said, "Visibility is armor," and I laughed through my nerves. Because yeah, I was a house cleaner with $214 in my account, talking like a PR shop. But she was right, so we booked a single camera, bad carpet, good light, and I said my name out loud. "I'm Lena Carter. My father didn't die in an accident." He was silenced for telling the truth, and saying it didn't make me feel naked, it felt like I finally put my coat on. The twist came 2 nights later. The thought I couldn't shake. That manila folder hiding behind a piano panel. because houses like that keep their own diaries. So I went back in jeans, a black windbreaker, sneakers that don't squeak miles from Nora's team, showing me how to pop a small lock without looking like a criminal. "You're not stealing," he said. "You're returning," and yeah, that happened. The music room was asleep, rugs swallowing my footsteps. The Steinway sitting there like a big black secret, and there's a slim wooden strip under the keys. Where the brass is loose, you push it. Clicks a narrow stairwell like you're walking down someone's throat. And in the private archive behind the library, I found the drawer by smell. That sweet dust of old paper and unfinished apologies. And there it was, my dad's handwriting. Site 14. Northern Pier, names, warnings. And at the bottom of the last page, the line that felt like a hand on my back. "If ignored, this kills a man," and taped to the inside cover with yellowing strips. A flash drive labeled "Eyes Only," the kind of print a man uses when his hands shake, and I pocketed it and killed the light because I heard the heel weight of a man who learned to walk by making rooms move for him. The door cracked, a blade of light across the floor, Colton Briggs, head of security, breath impatient, phone buzz. "No, nothing here." Old intel. Try the east wing, and when the door shut, I took the hedges path I'd worn with my own shoes for 3 years, and didn't exhale until the museum was a rectangle in a rearview mirror. The second article braided my father's report to a name I didn't know. Peter Hale, an inspector who died in a car wreck after refusing to sign a falsified sheet. His sister had an email yellowed and creased. "If something happens to me, look at Cade." And that's how truth works, not a straight line, but a net. You tug more names, catch, and the board suspended Donovan by lunch, the state called Nora by dinner, and by midnight, a van with no plates idled behind the safe apartment. 2 bored men in black, a lock tool and a silencer, like it was a Tuesday, and they didn't get far because Miles was waiting at the back door with a shotgun. And the kind of stillness that makes a threat feel like a suggestion, police lights washing the alley red and blue, and the whole mess made the morning news, which is a strange kind of promotion. From anonymous maid to person in danger. Court changes the air. You breathe. Paper sounds louder. Shoes tell stories. The judge was a black woman with tired eyes and a backbone like a lighthouse, and the prosecutor didn't perform. He stacked facts like bricks and asked me to read one line. My father's handwriting. "If ignored, this kills a man." And I watched a juror close her eyes like a prayer finally found an address, and Donovan's lawyer tried to pick me apart politely. "Ms. Carter, do you have a degree in structural engineering?" he asked with that dentist smile, and I said, "No, but I have a degree in watching powerful men call death a rounding error." And he stopped smiling, and Ruth testified about the midnight fire pit, the folder that never came back. "Rich folks don't touch trash," she said. "Whatever he burned, it wasn't garbage." And the room understood her better than it understood any spreadsheet. And when the verdicts came, they didn't crash. They settled conspiracy, obstruction, tampering, negligent homicide tied to Jacob Carter and Peter Hale. Guilty. And the courtroom exhaled the way porches do after a storm. And outside the cameras asked for a tidy quote, "Justice served." And I said what my mother says when the pie's not cut yet. It's a start. A year turned, and the Cade Foundation got dissolved. The company sold for parts money, walked itself into a fund with my father's last name on it. We used it for hard hats and lawyers and grief counselors, because justice comes with receipts. And I stood in a union hall and told a room full of people who build things that were done dying for deadlines, and a little girl in yellow waited till the end to hand me a notebook and whisper, "My brother pours concrete." Sometimes they rush quietly, and I wrote inside. Justice doesn't whisper, it roars, and I wish I could tell you that fixed it. But last week, a downstate council tried to cut surprise inspections, and it failed by one vote. And yesterday, Nora got an encrypted email with 4 names and a subject line that said, "Still buried." And Donovan filed an appeal, and Celeste launched a foundation for resilient builders with a photo of her in heels, holding a hammer like a prop. So yeah, some folks will say, I ruined a good man over old paper. Others will say I didn't go far enough because nobody used the word murder in a courtroom that prefers its guilt in Latin. And I can live with both. What I can't live with is the quiet we had before. So tell me in the comments where you stand on this. When someone builds schools in the daylight, but buries workers in the dark, which version is the real man? Do you think what happened to my father was murder in everything but name, or is negligent homicide the line? Have you seen places where the math always adds up for the boss and bodies become numbers? Talk to me, argue with me, tell me what justice means where you live. And if you've got a story that needs daylight, it doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be told. And if this hit home, share it, subscribe. Tag the person who thinks silence is polite. I'll be in the comments with you. Reading, pushing back, listening. Because truth doesn't die. It waits, and today we made it loud enough to hear. You know what I mean.